We then provide them the U.S. identity, and we also remind them the classification of this report and the sensitivity of that identity remains in place. By revealing this U.S. person to you, we are doing it to help you understand the intelligence, not so that you can use that knowledge indiscriminately. It must remain appropriately protected.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, since we've already basically established that there was some kind of abuse of the FISA courts, given everything that we've looked up to this point, how far will they actually go to cover it all up? You guys are going to want to stick around and check it out here on Just Informed Talk. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. As always, I like to begin by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, please come here on the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way you'll be notified when these videos get posted. And also hit the like button if you guys like these videos and want to see me make more. Today we're going to be picking up, as always, where we left off, the latest Q post. The Q post that we just left off at was Q post 3349. Still waiting, still in a holding pattern, but much is going on, and there are just incredible stories we're going to get to. First of all, we have a new report out from the AmericanReport.org. Mary Fanning Allen-Jones doing great investigative journalist work into what happened with the Obama administration, and that's going to be one of the first things we talk about. Also, we're going to be talking about this trending hashtag on Twitter now where they're talking about the Vox adpocalypse. Yes, there is just another push by YouTube to start basically, as far as I can tell, trying to shut down independent content creators. And why are they doing that? Well, they're hiding it under the guise of this push to get rid of, like they call supremacy content, whatever that means, I guess, with people, whoever's like actually making that kind of content and putting it on YouTube as far as hateful content. This channel, let me just say at the get-go, because this is really important, this channel has always been about, never been about hate. It's always been about love. It's always been about Christ's love. It's always been about the fact that I know God has called me here to have a conversation with you guys. That's what I do. I'm an evangelist. My first devotion in life is to spread God's word as far and as wide as I can. And then my second is to tell you the truth as I know it. And this is where this whole channel has basically come from. So, this whole thing is just, it's very disconcerting. And I'm very much worried for a lot of other content creators who are just doing the work and getting put on this new thing. And we're going to talk about that in more detail later on in the episode. But before we get to that, as always, you guys, if you don't know what QAnon is, come here, watch this video, What's QAnon, The Great Awakening, and also watch these last few videos if you want to get caught up on what's been going on in the news and all of that. I would really encourage you all to come here and share this on social media, because obviously what's happening with YouTube is that they're not suggesting this content, and they're doing everything they can to take content that's like this and many other people who do this kind of stuff and replace them with what they call authoritative sources of information, i.e. the mainstream media, as they seem to be commonly called, which would include the six media corporations that basically own all of what you see and hear on whatever cable TV. They're trying to replace what you have here, which is like an open, free platform where people can make a living telling their truth and reporting on things and having a conversation. And just basically a lot of it's Socratic method, asking questions, doing investigations. They're trying to take that and replace it with the authoritative, i.e. the non-conservative, liberally biased mainstream media, who obviously is probably behind this push entirely, because we're coming up on an election and they're trying to clear the rolls, and they're going to do everything they can to get content like this and many other channels removed and or demonetized and or however they can to suppress our ability to spread information. But that's why you guys are important in sharing this information, getting it out there, watching these videos and telling your friends. So that's kind of my spiel about it, because I put my life to God. After that, what else can I really do? I have God. Without God, I have nothing. That's all. I'm not telling anybody, I'm not trying to force people to think the way I do. I'm not promoting hate. I'm not promoting violence, unlike the people on Twitter, the people who get promoted a lot of the time. Childish Gambino's got a song that's got full advertising. This is apparently a rapper. And inside of this video, he literally fakes a shooting violence, crime violence against individuals And you're just like, but that's okay. But then somebody talking about it, having a conversation about it, that's not okay. And it just goes on and on. There's so much hypocrisy. Let's just get into the report. This is the latest iteration of the ongoing investigative work from Mary Fanning and Alan Jones over at the AmericanReport.com. And the title of this new article is called Blackmail and Leverage, Montgomery IDs Obama's Brendan Clapper and the Hammer, Trump Surveillance Nightmare. And I'm going to read this first section to you guys because it's very fascinating. And a lot of it is information information we've gone over in this channel. I'll leave a link to it because I want you guys to come read this stuff for yourselves. But with that being said, let's read these first few paragraphs because I think they lay out a new way of looking at the information that we're uncovering through this investigative work that's being done over here on the AmericanReport.org. Again, credit and great work to Mary Fanning and Alan Jones. But it says, for years, the deep state has waged a disinformation war and smear campaign against software designer and defense contractor Dennis Montgomery. Because they fear him, Montgomery claims. If Montgomery's allegations that the Obama administration conducted illegal domestic surveillance check out, and recent statements from multiple military sources and surveillance experts suggest that they do, then certain individuals, beginning with former CIA Director John Brennan and former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, have good reason to fear Montgomery and clear motive to destroy his reputation in order to save themselves. Montgomery designed the super surveillance system known as the Hammer, or HAMR, for foreign surveillance operations conducted to defend the United States from foreign threats. And of course, there's a link to another piece on this, but going on, it says, according to military sources, Montgomery's foreign surveillance system not only worked, but it also saved American lives. Quote, the Hammer doesn't exist, unquote. Quote, Montgomery is a fraud, unquote. Quote, Montgomery lost his security clearance, unquote. Those are a few of the phrases floating about, but documentary evidence and well-placed sources suggest that those claims are unfounded. Military sources confirm that the Hammer was only intended for use during foreign surveillance operations. Multiple safeguards were put in place to ensure that the powerful technology of the Hammer was never misused for illegal domestic surveillance. Foreign surveillance missions using the Hammer required sign-offs by multiple echelons of the federal government, up to and including FISA Court, according to those sources. The FISA Court was established under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978, the Hammer was a highly secret program. Despite the existence of multiple built-in safeguards against domestic surveillance, the Hammer remained vulnerable to abuse by nefarious officials within the intelligence community who had been entrusted with running the system. That is exactly what appears to have happened beginning in 2009 with the arrival of the Obama administration. Senior Obama administration national security officials, some with communist proclivities, commandeered the United States government's surveillance tools of war and turned them against the American people, secretly recorded audio tapes released by a federal judge, and Montgomery's own statements indicate. Those actions perhaps never before, or have never, those actions perhaps never before seen in America constitute the hallmarks of a totalitarian regime. So here we are, guys. I'll leave the rest of this for you guys to get into. Here's a quote from William Binney, the former NSA technical director, where he talks about in detail the fact that if they wanted to abuse the system, they very well could have, and it is looking like that's exactly what they were doing with regard to President Trump, and as alluded to by Ted Cruz and other American citizens, as alluded to by the investigative journalism that's being done over here on the AmericanReport.org, which I encourage you all to check out. They say that President Trump was, quote, wiretapped, quote, a zillion times, unquote. And that's, I believe, Dennis Montgomery's own words. And what happened here is really, really dangerous. This story we've covered here before on this channel, but I keep bringing it up because it's very important to remember that President Trump told us this happened. Remember this tweet back in March of 2017 where he says that they just found out that Obama had his wires tapped in Trump Tower before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. But it was McCarthyism in reverse, because now the self-avowed communists were the ones abusing the system to target conservatives and patriots who were like President Trump and others who wanted to fix the system, especially President Trump and his campaign, it would seem, according to the allegations that are being raised through the research that's done here on this channel with people like this at the AmericanReport.org who are putting together great finds. And here's the thing, guys. Like I was talking about in the beginning, there is a push to keep this information from the American people. And why would you want to do that? Well, obviously, because it exposes what they call sources and methods. But that's just another way of saying it exposes the crimes that were committed behind the scenes. If they illegally abused the FISA Corps to spy on their political adversaries by manufacturing this Steele dossier in conjunction with the Hillary campaign and the DNC, you have a sitting administration who is supposed to be objective and supposed not to use the super surveillance tools of the NSA and other organizations against the American people, doing exactly the opposite of what they're supposed to do. So if in fact this is true, every American has a vested interest in knowing about this story. Every American has a vested interest in digging deeper here and having an investigation into how the hammer could have possibly been misused. I mean, there's a video evidence where you have John Brennan, I think, talking about how he had voted for the Communist Party back in 1978. You have James Comey in an interview with, I believe it was New York Magazine or the New York Post, one of those publications, where he says, I don't know how to describe myself. I used to be basically a communist, but I don't know how to describe myself today. I'm paraphrasing it, but that's basically the quote. And this is scary. This is terrifying. This is something that we should all be incredibly concerned with. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if this actually happened and nobody's digging on it and we don't have anybody in the mainstream media talking about it, these people were directly mentioned. So this is actually directly mentioned. If you guys want to look it up, you can look at the reporting on the American Report here, read through all their articles. But there's actually an exchange between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page where they're basically telling each other, oh, don't worry about that Montgomery and his attorney Klayman, because that'll never get out. Nobody will ever find that out. Well, guess what? It did get out. And that was not a part of their insurance plan. I can tell you that much. And it's just fairly obvious when you look at what's happening here that there very well could have been a blatant abuse of the FISA courts, a blatant abuse of these super surveillance programs. And somebody has to stand up against this. And the big tech companies, they don't care because they're already working with the government anyway. And why not? They're trying to cover their butts. Then you have the corrupt politicians who, what's been alleged here is that blackmail and leverage was one of the key things they were going after. So there's testimony you can go watch of Dianne Feinstein on Capitol Hill. I think questioning, who was it? I think it was Brennan, about the fact that the CIA was literally spying on U.S. Congress officials, as in U.S. House of Representatives, representatives from the House and senators were being spied on by our own intelligence community. Now, that should worry every single person in this country. So this is an important issue, and I'm trying to draw a light to it, or keep pushing a light onto it, because it's such an important issue that the mainstream media won't touch with a 10-foot pole. And that's why we have to come here and we have to report this to you guys and help spread this information so that you guys can research it further. I mean, the fact of the matter is, the only way that we really, really can defeat what's going on, the corruption and criminality that's taken over a lot of parts of our government in certain areas and with corporations and with the Silicon Valley big tech stuff, is to put a light onto it and to show, hey, this is happening and we have to say something, do something about it. And that's really where this goes. And again, they have great reporting over here at the American Report. This is another story that they just updated today, which was just talking about these Woodward and Bernstein and how, they're basically assets of the FBI. It said here you had one of the unclassified U.S. State Department emails where Sidney Blumenthal is writing to Hillary Clinton, right, talking about Woodward, saying that since the Deep Throat, he has been an FBI asset. He's career dependent. So you have an FBI asset who gets on TV and promotes the impeachment of the president, the removal of the president of the United States. You have, so you think there was some coordination there maybe with some of the former directors of the FBI who are saying, look, we need to push this impeachment thing. We need to get President Trump removed because he's going to blow the lid on all the things that we did that were illegal. And that's where we're at. That's truly where we're at. So that's just one other example, and they just updated their reporting here. This was an older report they had, but it just updates it to kind of show that this could have all been planned through Peter Strzok and Lisa Page talking about how there was they have their tasks, as we have our task ahead of us. Because they were talking about buying the I think the movie All the President's Men because they wanted to brush up on Watergate. Well, I wonder why they would want to brush up in Watergate, because it's been alleged that this whole thing was to do another Watergate on Trump, to get him removed from office, to either have him resign or be impeached, because they're trying to unseat a duly elected president, because of no good reason other than they lost power and they didn't want to lose power. They didn't want to be exposed in the crimes that they had committed. So that's that. I'll leave links to all those if you want to check them out. Here's a great one. So YouTube now is banning supremacist content, and thousands of channels are about to be removed. And this is sad. I'm not saying anything, don't take that as me saying, oh, it's bad that they're removing supremacist content. No, that's not what I mean. I mean, when you read through this article, apparently this was all started with some fight between this guy from Vox and Steven Crowder. And it's so funny when you read through this article. This is from The Verge. They're talking about how, here, I'll read you the sentence here. This is the writer of this article says, quote, "The company declined to comment on a current controversy surrounding my Vox colleague, Carlos Maza, who has repeatedly been harassed on the basis of his race and sexual orientation by prominent right-wing commentator Steven Crowder. After I spoke with the company, it responded to Maza that it plans to take no action against Crowder's channel." So I guess something that happened after this is now they're starting to demonetize channels, and it's like, this is something that we keep having to come up against over and over again. What rights do we really have? The dwindling rights that we have here. You read these stories and you think to yourself, I mean, obviously there was a skew to this story. It was definitely had a left-leaning bias, but they're outlining it and they're happy about it because they are the mainstream media now. So they're more than happy to turn around and say, well, I don't, now that I'm here in one of the mainstream media, we don't need to have anybody else, any other dissenting opinions. We need to start shutting people down for making jokes. I mean, I even tweeted it at YouTube once a few days ago. I was like, what, don't you guys remember what comedy is? People say stuff that offends a few people, but more people laugh. That's comedy, right? And I don't get the way that they keep changing. They're moving the goalposts. They keep changing their community guidelines. And now they're going to say, oh, well, we can just retroactively say that now you're in violation of this guideline or that guideline. And they can basically take a person's livelihood away. And they can severely stunt the growth of a channel. They can severely stunt the ability of a creator to be able to fund himself, to be able to do the work that it takes to run a YouTube channel. Which, let me tell you what, if you want to run a YouTube channel, please, by all means, but just let me give you a little FYI. You're going to be working 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So just get ready for it, because that's what it takes, really, to stay ahead of everything, to stay in touch, to stay on top of it all. I mean, and that's what they're trying to destroy. So they're trying to destroy our ability to compete. It's more, in my opinion, it comes to a civil rights issue. And then, you have people like, I guess this person Keemstar. I'm not familiar. I'm sure he's very famous. You guys would be like, you don't know who Keemstar is? Okay, he's somebody. Obviously, he has millions of Twitter followers. He's talking about channels being demonetized like crazy. And it's just like, what can we do? And then you look at the other side of it, the issue here, where you have like Rolling Stone. Here's Kesha's latest song. I mean, I'm trying to really put this all into context for you guys. So Kesha's latest song is called, the title of the article says, Kesha rids the world of rich, white, straight men on new track. Okay. And I guess this is about some sort of equality. See, because the difference between the left and the right is that the left wants equality of outcome and the right wants equality of opportunity. Meaning, I'm here on YouTube. I just want the equality of an ability to have a chance to work and to do my job while following the rules. And that's the opportunity. I don't demand that I'm as successful as everyone else because of X, Y, and Z. I say I just want the equality of having an opportunity. And when you look at a song like this kind of characterizes, and I hate to highlight it because, it's kind of just a meaningless fluff song. But when you look at it, this is the mentality of the left. They think that it's okay for them to be bigoted. They think it's okay for them to be racist. They think it's okay for them to have these tendencies to discriminate against others because of some perceived injustice that happened to them at some point in their history. Even if it wasn't their actual personal history, it was just some sort of, I don't know, let's say cultural history, something that happened to their ancestors or something like that. And this is the problem that we have in society today, is that this is seen as mainstream. This is seen as okay. This is seen as the counterculture. This is the hip thing to be, is like, just, I don't like rich and white and straight men. Well, okay, but you can't reverse that, can you? Right? You can't reverse that to say that first of all, what's wrong with being a straight man or woman? I've never said anything is wrong with people who are not straight, so I don't see why it's okay for you to say being straight is a bad thing. And then there's being white. Can anybody control their race? I mean, this is insanity. This is exactly what they did in the 1950s. They would categorically lump people together based on their race and then effectively discriminate against them based on that premise. And we're seeing it here in real time today. Nobody seems to want to call it out for what it is. It's a racist song. It's a bigoted song. You're excluding a group of individuals because of a lot of things they can't control biologically. If you're let's just say that the left will take the left's argument and use it against them. What they say is you're biologically hardwired to be, let's say, of a different sexual persuasion, whatever you want to say it, LGBT, whatever you want to be. But then can't you use that same logic and say that then some men, most men, I guess, or you would say by percentage, probably are hardwired to biologically to be straight? So this is just where the insanity continues to go worse and worse. And then they want to call in Democrats. Democrats want to fly in psychiatrists to do armchair diagnosing of President Trump's mental health, which I think is a violation of the way that they sign their or they do their oath of performing psychology. I know there's a specific thing I'm forgetting to mention here. It's some rule that's set up, not like an established rule or practice, but that would preclude you from making a diagnosis on a patient that you haven't actually seen. Meaning, I can't just listen to President Trump talk for a speech and say I can fully diagnose him on a psychiatric level. It just doesn't work that way. Here's the last story I want to get to, and this is why we say it's a slippery slope in the world that we live in, with the way that things are going with big tech and these politicians and the way they push for this Orwellian type of control of thought and control of what you can and can't say. Here's a great example. So a Fort Worth school board unanimously has voted to fire a teacher who tweeted at the president about what was happening in his own school. This is terrifying. Here are the two tweets. This person, Georgia Clark, reportedly tweeted to President Trump about the school that they were working at, saying, "Mr. President, I asked for assistance in reporting illegal immigrants in the FWISD public school system, and what I received was an alarming tweet from someone identifying himself as one of your assistants, followed by a second tweet from the same person. Mr. President, Fort Worth Independent School District is loaded with illegal students from Mexico. Carter Riverside High School has been taken over by them. Drug dealers are on our campus, and nothing was done to them when the drug dogs found the evidence." And here's the video of the actual council itself voting unanimously to fire this individual. And what's terrifying about this story, to kind of sum it all up briefly, is that this story exemplifies the slippery slope, the dangerous path that society will continue to wander down if we don't start standing up against what's happening. Because this is just a small example, but this is an individual. This is a U.S. citizen with all the rights of every other U.S. citizen, completely with the right to a freedom of speech, telling the president of the United States that there's a problem in his school, identifying it, saying, Mr. President, I'm very concerned because this school district, or this school in particular, the one that I'm in, it seems to have an overwhelming amount of individuals who are not from this country, A, and who are engaged in activities that could be harmful to the other children in that school, B. And instead of, getting taken seriously and saying, hey, we're going to look into this, this is a serious problem, let's talk to some other people, he was immediately dismissed. He was immediately cut down. He was immediately silenced. And that's this trend that's happening. It starts on the big scale where they get away, like their big case thing we've talked about before was Alex Jones. Like they went after Alex Jones, and that was proving that they could do that to anyone. So now that they've figured out that they can actually, dehuman a person, they can remove your digital existence, and they can remove your livelihood. They can take away the promises they made. They can engage in whatever activities that they deem are fair based off of their own policies, and not the agreements that they entered into with the U.S. government with regard to the Communications Decency Act, especially Section 230 and other constitutional rights that they are not allowed to violate, obviously. They do that, and then it seeps down into the lower levels and echelons of society until you get down to a school board that thinks it's okay to just remove a teacher who was merely reaching out with a concern to the president of our country. This is the dangerous slope that we are on, and I really encourage everyone out there to just be mindful of how this is going to, just keep on top of it, because this is really getting quite worrisome here, and there's nothing I can do. Like I said, I put my faith in God, but that's pretty much where we're going to wrap it up. A few more things before we go. Obviously, if you want to help the channel, click the big red subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button if you guys want to see more of this content. Watch these videos, share them, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about all this. I'm very curious, because you guys are going to tell me what you think, and that's going to help me understand better what the real problem is, and that's how this all works. So that I really appreciate. Also, a few other ways you can help out the channel. Come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformU. That's a good way you can come find me, and you can get all my smart, funny, hilarious tweets. You guys should go check that out. It's a cool way to stay in touch outside of the channel. It's JustInformU on Twitter. And also come check out justinformednews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. Links to different Q stuff, links to different news outlets, links to different breaking news articles. And of course, we have right here President Trump in the latest videos from the channel here on Just Informed Talk. So that's a cool thing to check out. Also, I did launch Just Informed Podcast, the new channel. It's going to be basically long-form interviews and different stories about what's going on kind of behind the scenes of Just Informed Talk. So I really encourage you guys to come check this out. Come here, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. I have my second video for this channel coming up soon. Like I said, it's going to be 1 to 2 videos a week. I'm still deciding, but I think we might be able to get this latest interview I did up by this weekend. So that'll be good if you guys want to go check that out. It's going to be a great interview. I just shot it today, and I'm working on the editing and everything. So it's going to be up as soon as I'm done with that on this channel for you guys. I'll put a notification out on Twitter. I'll put a notification out on the community board here on YouTube, and you guys can go check that out if you want. A couple other ways to help the channel out are both financial. You can come here to the crowdfunding website, Patreon, patreon.com, and just /JustInformedTalk, patreon.com/JustInformedTalk. Link will be in the description. Click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation. Without your support, this channel would have never survived this long. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And who knows, man, if anything ever were to happen with YouTube and the whole demonetization thing, I would just depend on you guys that much more. So it's kind of up to you guys whether this channel survives or not. So when you come and contribute here, you set a monthly donation, set it and forget it, and know that will keep this content coming regardless. So I thank you for your support. Truly, I also have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, that helps out the channel big time as well. So thank you for that. But before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for today's episode, I want to share a piece of scripture that I kind of found because it's in 2 Corinthians, and it's a verse that reminds me about how to look to God for comfort in times where you're not sure. And that's one of the things. I don't think any of us can be sure about anything in life. You know, God giveth and God taketh away. And if you live by that in its truest form, then it's hard to really be scared of the future, because you trust in God, and you trust that if you're a good person, if you live a righteous life, that God will reward you ultimately, whatever, no matter what adversity you have to go through, no matter what comes into your path, you will always be able to overcome it with God. And that's my life. That's my philosophy. And I want you guys to embrace it too, because truly that is the kind of existence where you can really feel peace in your hearts, I think. And that brings me to the next point here, which is this piece of scripture. It's out of the book of Corinthians, chapter 1, verses 3 through 7. And I want to share these words with you because they're just profound. It says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort. He comforts us in all our affliction, so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any kind of affliction through the comfort we ourselves receive from God. For as the sufferings of Christ overflow to us, so our comfort overflows through Christ. If we are afflicted, it is for your comfort and salvation. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which is experienced in the endurance of the same sufferings that we suffer. And our hope for you is firm, because we know that as you share in the sufferings, so you will share in the comfort." And that's it. I mean, that's where I'll leave it, because that's truly embodies what's going on here. As we all know, whatever happens, if we put our lives to God, whether we are going through adversity or we are feeling comfort, if we look to God in both circumstances, then we will always be okay, and you will be okay, and your family will be okay. And no matter what happens with anything and everything, put your faith in God and you will be okay. And spread that message to your friends and your families and those that you love, and even those who you don't truly know well enough to say that you have these personal relationships. Put it out into the world. A simple "God bless you" to somebody could change their day, could change their week, it could change their life. And that's something you should never forget as a Christian when you go out into the world. So that's where I want to leave it. I want to say thank you for watching again this channel. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Hit that like button. Hit it, punch it, smash it. It's the thumbs up button at the bottom of this video. Helps the channel out, helps me know that you guys like this content and want to see me make more. But that's going to be it for me. I want to say thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.